So Sayadaw started by reciting in Pali the phrases, the sentences to pay homage to the Triple Gem. These are the way that we always pay homage. So I hope that you could understand those Pali words that Sayadaw uttered at the beginning of the Dhamma talk. And what Sayadaw wanted to say today is to remind the yogis of the way to practice the why and the how, and especially for new yogis, with the hope that by listening to the talk, they could practice ardently and they could note meticulously. And for the experienced yogis, this is a chance for them to review. So Sayadaw said, when we practice, it is very important for us to have the intention or the determination. And that is very important for the yogis when they walk on the path to end all sufferings. So we are all here and we are very fortunate because we have the opportunity to meet the teachings of an enlightened person. And we have the faith in the teachings of this enlightened person so that we walk on his path, the path that will lead us to liberation, to the cessation of sufferings. So in life, human beings are afraid mostly death. And after death, we will be reborn. And that is the cycle. And we walk on this path to end this cycle. So yogis, when they first practice, they make effort to keep their morality intact. And they practice to see the truth, to practice to see the reality, to see things as they are. So the Buddha, he experienced this path and he taught beings this path. So beings and yogis here have faith and walk on the path. So how do we know that we walk on the path correctly? If we walk with clear comprehension, and Sayadaw said the Pali word is yonisamanasikara, then we are on the right path. So yogis make an effort to walk on that path. They have the desire and knowledge. They pay attention to the objects with knowledge. Normally, people pay attention to things, but they pay attention without knowledge. They don't see things as they are. If yogis practice, pay attention, and with understanding, see things as they are, then the yogis are walking on the right path. So the main difference here is when we pay attention, you pay attention with understanding. You pay attention and see things as they are. The other thing is, normal people, they pay attention, they do things with the hope that will bring them happiness. But their happiness is not stable. They follow materials and other things in life, positions, thinking that these things will bring them happiness. But actually, this kind of happiness is very fleeting. When we walk on the path of the Buddha, there is no material gain, no reputation gain, but It gives us the happiness in our mind. When we practice, we are not sitting in a luxury car. We are not staying in a nice house. We don't have servants serving us and so on. So, how could we be happy? Yogis are happy because the mind is calm, is happy. And the mind is calm with happiness because it pays attention and it sees things as they are. Yogis are walking on the Noble Eightfold Path. This path was taught by the Buddha. So at the beginning, yogis keep the morality just like we all did at the beginning of the Dhamma talk. They try to keep their morality intact, right speech, right action, right livelihood. And then next, they make effort. They make effort to be mindful. So that's right effort, right mindfulness. And that leads to right concentration. So when yogis pay attention and note things as they are, they pay attention with knowledge. They bring the mind to the object. Take the mind to the object, and that is right thought. And they see things as they really are. That is right understanding. So yogis are walking on this Noble Eightfold Path. An example is when we operate a car, we need a key. Car is a complex thing, but you insert the key, you turn on the ignition key, and the car starts running. So here, in our practice, our key is mindfulness. We activate this Noble Eightfold Path with this key, the key of mindfulness. So when we pay attention, we keep mindful on the objects. Mindfulness is just a mental factor. It's not the mind. So when the mind or consciousness is on the object, we need this mindfulness, this mental factor to go along with it. So we understand that mind or consciousness and mental factor, they arise and they pass away together, and they have the same object. So the mind stays on the object with mindfulness. So when yogis are mindful of the object and they see things correctly, they see things as they are, it is said that yogis have knowledge. For example, when we practice and we are mindful of the breath. So the term breath is just a concept. Actually, it is just air, or the air element. And the characteristic of the air element is movement. So yogis follow this breath at the beginning as a concept, and then it knows the characteristics of the air element, such as movement as an example. So the air or air element exists everywhere, whether we pay attention to it or not. It's always there. It's there inside of us, everywhere inside of us, and it's everywhere outside of us. That's why every day we could see from the weather prediction that the wind is blowing at such and such speed in such and such direction. So when we practice, we just simply follow the air element. In the old days, even before the time of the Buddha, many ascetics use this air element to travel, to reborn in the Rupa and Arupa world. Yogis practice so that they have happiness, not with any material things, not even better existences, but it's even better, and it is called Nibbana. This is where all sufferings cease. And yogis also use the air element to go there. How do we do that? We practice, follow this air element with mindfulness. We pay attention to the object with knowledge, see them as they are. And by practicing as such, we will move out of all sufferings. In short, we are practicing Satipatthana. So the Buddha taught beings through this Satipatthana discourse, because this is the only way for the purification of beings, for overcoming sorrow and lamentation, for disappearance of pain and grief and so on. So this is the practice, only this practice, that we could overcome sorrow and lamentation. Normal people, they follow other things, hoping that they will bring happiness, but they still have to deal with sorrow and lamentation at the end. So here yogis practice, whether you follow the air element at the nostril or at the abdomen, they're all the same. It's all air element. So when yogis pay attention to the air element, they notice the expansion, the touching. They know the characteristics of the air element, and they know it by following the arising object through body and mind. By practicing paying attention to arising objects through this body and mind, yogis come to understand the characteristics. So when yogis sit and practice, pay attention to the rising and falling of the abdomen, and they see the expansion, they see the movement, they see just the characteristics of the air element. They see that the abdomen expands and then it falls. They see the air element. And then sometimes they see hardness, softness in the abdomen. See the earth element. Or sometimes they feel warm or cold. And that is the fire element. So through the practice of following the rising and falling of the abdomen, the yogis experience these elements. See them as they are. Yogis have knowledge. And yogis see that they change, constantly changes. And yogis experience the impermanent, the characteristics of impermanence. And this is real experience. Whether we pay attention to this air element or not, it's always there. We cannot control it. Yogis practice and they see things change, the impermanent characteristics, the oppression of these changes. And yogis experience the unsatisfactoriness or suffering. And they see that they cannot control any of it, or the non-self characteristics. Yogis practice seeing things as such. He said they practice with attention and knowledge. So yogis practice with the desire to be liberated, to get out of this conditioned world. And yogis might have a lot of questions. When do I have to walk? And how long do I have to walk? When will I be able to reach the end of this path? And so on. Many, many questions. But just practice. When you walk, you know that you are walking. You have no doubt. Because when you see things as they are, you know that you are walking on the right path. At the beginning, you ask all these questions, and you have the intention to practice so that you no longer have to suffer. You trust the Buddha, this doctor, who could prescribe the medicine that could give us true happiness. But as you walk on this path, you will start seeing that your suffering is reduced slowly. You know, you experience it. You know that you are not worried, you are not suffered as much as before. So you have an inclination to continue to walk on that path because you know that it's the right path. However, you are not at the end of the path yet. So you have to continue to walk on the path until there is no more sorrow, no more worries in you. Normal people, they always think of the past and the future. Yogis, you only live at the present. You practice and you know whatever arises, they disappear right at this instant. So you pay attention with knowledge. How? Again, by having mindfulness. So yogis must practice, must always have mindfulness. Your mindfulness must be continuous. You make effort to keep mindfulness all the time. And with that, concentration will arise. And with concentration, right understanding will arise. Yogis, through their practice, they offer their practice to the Triple Gem. And those who practice the Dhamma will be protected by the Dhamma. How do we get the protection from the Dhamma? We must have mindfulness. So, there are many mental factors, but the Buddha prescribes in the path, in the Noble Eightfold Path, he only chose those 8 mental factors. And those 8 mental factors will lead us on the path to Nibbana. When we walk on this path, we have a life without suffering. How do you live on this path? You live on this path by dwelling on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. You dwell on this body, on this feeling, consciousness, and Dhamma. And when we dwell on these 4 foundations, we must have effort, clear comprehension, and with those 2, we will have right concentration. When yogis walk, they lift their legs, they know that they lift their legs. When they walk, move forward, they know. When they put it down, they know. They always have effort and mindfulness all the time, continuously. If yogis could do that, concentration will arise. And concentration will lead to right view, right understanding. Just like one wants to have the light, you want to have the light all the time. So similarly, if you want to have light in your mind, if you want to have knowledge continuously, we must practice and always have mindfulness. You practice wholeheartedly, meticulously, not fleeting on the surface. You must practice continuously. And if one practices like that, it will lead to right view or right understanding. When you walk, you put your mind on your foot and you pay attention to it. You come to understand the air element, the earth element, the fire element. When you sit, you pay attention to the abdomen, and you see clearly the air element at the abdomen. You see the expansion, you see the movement, and so on. When yogis practice as such, they will come to see the arising and passing away of the phenomena. When the abdomen rises, yogis knows that it rises. When it falls, knows that it falls. When the mind wanders, it knows that the mind wanders. If the mind does not wander, it knows that the mind is not wandering. Yogis practice ardently. The mind always have the light of knowledge. Just like one wants to always have the light so one could see. So yogis must practice continuously without any disruption. It's like you are driving a car. The car must be driven, must run continuously. You don't want the car to run and stop and then run again and then stop again. So in your practice, you want to practice continuously, no disruptions. And one comes to see cause and effect as well. The cause in the present will bring effects in the future. Just like one could look at the result in the present and be able to guess the cause in the past. So here, yogis are practicing meditation at the present. That is the cause. And the result is liberation in the future. So one practices one hour continuously without disruption, walking on this Noble Eightfold Path. Similar to a car with 8 engines, all of them, all 8 engines running continuously, harmoniously, no disruption. When one practices like that, the mind has no sorrow, no lamentation, no worries, and the mind is liberated at that moment. When the mind has greed, yogis know that it has a greedy mind or angry mind. When it doesn't know anything, it's also aware of that. By practicing as such, yogis will conquer greed, anger and delusion. And they conquer those 3 roots, unwholesome roots, through the breath or through the air element. But one has to practice wholeheartedly, not fleeting. One has to make a strong determination that I will follow from the beginning to the end. At the beginning, you follow just 1, rising and falling. And you make the determination, I do 1, and I will do 2, and then I will do 3. And just like that, yogis make strong determination to practice wholeheartedly, continuously. And just like a car, once you could get that going, it becomes automatic. You may not have to make effort, and it continues to run. And one comes to see that all conditioned phenomena have their own characteristics, and they change all the time. And we cannot control it. So, yogis need to practice wholeheartedly, not fleeting. As you walk on this path, you have to practice wholeheartedly. Don't allow the mind to be agitated. The mind needs to be concentrated. And the mind gets concentration if you practice with continuous mindfulness and with effort. Just like when you take a picture, if you want to have a clear picture, your hand should not be vibrated. So you have to hold it still And when you hold it still, the picture will come out clear. So similarly, if you want to have knowledge, right understanding, see clearly, the mind has to be still, or what we call concentrated mind. So one has to practice wholeheartedly, meticulously, continuously, and that will lead to success. That will help yogis to eliminate greed, anger, and delusion. So yogis, again, walk on this path, with strong determination, with no fleeting mindfulness. So we have to practice paying attention and see things as they are. So that is the end of the Dhamma talk. And Sayadaw wish that all the yogis could practice smoothly and that they will be able to experience